Good morning. It's not time for Sports Chat this beautiful Monday. And this is the moment that we appraise you on what happened over the last 24 hours. And of course, we come back to our usual discussion, the topic of the week. And today we'll be talking about exercising during this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm very sure that most of you Nairobians or Kenyans at large are making sure that you keep fit, because without exercising, things could get worse, and especially in the face of this coronavirus. Now, we want to cross over to the European football. And last night, as you are aware, Liverpool were held to a 0-0 draw by Everton. Now, Liverpool will need favours from Manchester City to clinch a first Premier League title in 30 years this week, after being held to a 0-0 draw by Everton in a Merseyside derby without the usual fervour behind closed doors last night. Everton came the closest to breaking the deadlock as Tom Davies struck the post and Alisson Becker saved from Dominic Calvert-Lewin to deny the Blues the first derby win in 10 years. Liverpool remain well on course to win the league with a 23-point lead over City at the top of the table. The Reds could clinch the title on home soil against Crystal Palace on Wednesday should Pep Guardiola's men draw points at home to Burnley today. That game will come to you late in the night. You may want to sit back, stay awake to watch that game. Now, to La Liga, Real Madrid knocked Barcelona off the top of La Liga by defeating Real Sociedad 2-1 last night as Sergio Ramos rolled in another penalty before being forced off due to injury. Karim Benzema continued his excellent form by adding a second at Anoeta, and while Mikel Merino gave Real Sociedad hope with 7 minutes left, Madrid held on to go above Barcelona on head-to-head. Inspired by the message, "I will be reborn, you will be reborn," brought Serie A football back to Bergamo in style yesterday, following the coronavirus lockdown with a 4-1 victory over Sassuolo, as Inter Milan enjoyed a 2-1 victory over Sampdoria thanks to Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez goals. Bergamo was the epicenter of Italy's COVID-19 crisis. Gian Piero Gasperino's side hosted rivals Sassuolo behind closed doors in their JV stadium in a match played in memory of the city's thousands of virus victims. Duvan Zapata scored a brace with Berati Jimciti also on target as Sassuolo's Mehdi Borabia turned into his own net before pulling a goal back deep into injury time. The province of Bergamo suffered 6,000 more deaths than usual during the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, now we want to move to our topic of discussion this week. And as you know, the COVID pandemic has ravaged the world. And as it continues to do so, and people are being urged to remain at home in self-quarantine, staying at home for prolonged periods of time can pose significant challenge for remaining physically active. Sedentary behavior and low levels of physical activity can have negative effects on the health of or the well-being and quality of life of individuals. Quarantine can also cause additional stress and challenge the mental health of citizens. Physical activity and relaxation techniques can be valuable tools to help you remain calm and continue to protect your health during this time. In a bid to stay healthy, most Nairobi residents have taken to early morning runs, and this they do along city roads, as most of public spaces have either been grabbed or have been turned into garbage collection points, car washes, and name them. Who is to blame? Nairobi residents or the county administration? And to join me in that discussion, we have two senior journalists in this country. As you can see, Gilbert Wandera over there. Karibu sana, Gilbert. Well, I can also see Milton Nyakundi. They are also joining us via Zoom. Milton Nyakundi is senior journalist in this country, sports journalist. And Rogers Eshtemi, who is our senior writer at the Standard newspaper. Well, I've been watching or reading through or combing through the social media spaces, and I can see Gilbert Wandera. Every other morning, you are out there jogging. And I just wonder, is it that you are trying to beat the coronavirus virus pandemic, or just to keep fit, Gilbert?
Like you said, now that, we have a lot of time on our hands. So sometimes you have to make good use of that time. And exercise is very important. So we decided with two of my friends that I will be exercising every day, just to be able to, keep fit, and also to be able to, to kill stress, because when you don't have a lot of things you're doing, you're bound to, stress can easily set in. So it just helped us to, deal with different things. But really, but in the end, it's just keeping fit, just maintaining, your weight, and just ensuring that you don't you don't get you don't add unnecessary weight, so that when things get back to normal, you're good to go. Yes.
Rogers Shtemi, I know you are involved in sports reporting. It's quite difficult. I know you've got to get your stories via telephone calls. But then besides that, when you are not reporting or writing those stories, how do you keep fit, Rogers? Well, Rogers, I'm sorry, I'll come back to you because of sound issues, but then let me move to Milton. Of course, Milton is our resident analyst here. We always are with him. But anytime or after all this that we do, Milton, how do you keep yourself fit? Because I find you to be really physical fit. I don't know, is it because of your body size? Is it the same as, being fit, or just your body size? How do you keep fit, Milton?
Well, Robin, it's been good to see Gilbert. It's been a while since we had a meeting, and even virtually good to see you. I've been seeing you running all over the place with our other friend. To answer your question, Robin, I think it is a mix of many things. In terms of keeping the fitness levels, it's quite true that I haven't done any of those Gilbert has been doing, like running. But once in a while, I'm able to, be on the football pitch, do a bit of running here and there, just to keep fit. But then, of course, there is one element of keeping fit that we don't normally talk about, and that is, just having a good walk. It is advisable that if you do some good walk, at least 3 to 5 kilometers a day, that is good enough. So I do quite a lot of that. But then maybe, Robin, if age doesn't sell me out in a few years' time, perhaps also I have the advantage of the body, or the genes, as it were. So so far,
But of course, those muscles have to be stretched anyway.
Yeah, and so far so good. So a bit of walking on a regular basis, and once in a while getting on to the football pitch. It hasn't happened lately because of the COVID restrictions, but I think walking does the thing. And again, let us also not underestimate that eating healthy is also one aspect of staying healthy as well.
Yes, Shtemi, Milton says eating healthy. I don't know if we have you now on the line. How do you exercise, Shtemi, when you are not writing for us those stories? Shtemi? Yes. Yeah, I think we've lost you. We'll work to ensure that we get you back. But now let me move to the real question, Gilbert. You know, when I see you jogging along the roads of Nairobi, I ask myself, why on the roads or along the city streets and not in some public spaces like those community playgrounds that we have? Why would you jog along the road?
Toskin, that's a good question. But the fact is, there are no there are no spaces to jog. So we are left with no option but to go on the roads. And it's very unfortunate that most roads have no pedestrian walkways or where you can jog comfortably. And so a lot of times we have to fight with the cars or with the motorbikes and all sorts of moving machines so that we're able to jog. I think near where I stay, there's only one public place where you can go and actually jog, and it's at the Jaffrey Sports Club.
That's a private facility, I think.
Yeah, it's a private facility, but the good thing is that the owners allow anybody, to go there. You don't have to be a member or anything. So it's like a community that has been donated by the Meralis. So you can go there, jog, but it's a bit far, so it's not somewhere that I can go every day.
Yes.
So I have to do with the roads, yeah. But the beauty also is something I also have to mention is that the new Ngong Road, after it was finished,
yes, that
they did well to put. There are a lot of. There's a place you can actually jog, though again you have to squeeze and push and pull with people who are walking. So basically, I would just say that it's unfortunate that we do not have designated places. To be able to jog comfortably and to be able to, keep fit as you would need to do so.
Milton, Gilbert talks about those walkways, and I presume that the walkways are meant for the pedestrians, not people, jogging. Where is the problem? Is it that in this city we've not put adequate provisions for where the public, the members of the public can go and exercise and even jog?
Well, it is rather unfortunate that in our planning, public health provisions or requirements for keeping fit have not been factored in most of those, city development plans. And it's not just Nairobi, but many other towns or cities across the country. So yes, it is a failure of the public systems to have these things put in place. And because of that, you see, that is why we do not have the facilities. I think it is a very serious indictment on the part of the leadership of this country, from the national to the county government. And I have been critical of how some of these counties are going so big with stadiums that they are putting up. Embu was the first one to start this project, I think way back in 2014.
It's not even complete.
And to date, it's not complete, 7 years down the line. So it is a shame that we have a leadership that is preoccupied with the grandeur of having 30, 40,000 seater facilities when all we need are simple, installations where the people can be able to, access these facilities, including gyms and other spaces for, those who want to exercise to do so. So it is an indictment on the leadership and nothing else, because, the public, unless you are well endowed, and we don't have so many of such individuals in this country.
Yes.
It is not easy that you'll have enough space in your backyard to be able to do the exercises that you need. So it is an indictment on the leadership that we do not have the right facilities that also help the citizenry to keep fit, because that is a public health. In my view, it is a public health requirement that needs to be satisfied only when we have a leadership that will think about
that. I don't know. I don't know from where Eshtemi is. Is there a place you exercise, or just inside your house, Eshtemi?
Toskin, definitely, just like any other citizen, other Nairobi residents, you just have to wake up early in the morning and do some joggings, runnings around. But as you are aware, I've had my colleagues talking about maybe people enjoying those morning runs on the roads, but they do come with their own disadvantages or their dangers. You understand? Jogging on those hard surfaces, to some extent, are health hazardous, whereby maybe you can get knee injuries or even injuries on other joints of the body. So even as we keep on enjoying those runnings in the morning, we have to be cautious on how we do them. But while at it, maybe around me, most of the spaces, like any other part of Nairobi, have been grabbed. Those spaces meant for public use or for even you look at in most schools, yeah, children don't have playgrounds. Where are these grounds? They have been either been grabbed or, yeah, it is just difficult to get that space. So it's a point maybe for you as an individual to try to improvise those activities. You can do even in the house. Just wake up, maybe do some normal exercise in the house for 30 minutes, the push-ups, the press-ups, you do the back seats, you do all those things. Maybe they can assist you. It's not necessary that maybe you wake up and jog. You do it once in a while. Jogging, you can do it once in a while, but preferably mostly on a soft space. Those soft spaces are at the moment not available for most people, unfortunately.
Isn't that surrender, Gilbert? Isn't that surrender that we decide now just to train from our own homes? Yet we know that there are public provisions that we should have those spaces. Now I see Gilbert Wandera jogging along the road. Don't you even worry that those gases, gas emissions from vehicles would even affect your health, even as you try to stay fit, Wandera?
Well, yeah, that's a concern. But what we do is the trick is we start very early in the morning when there are still few cars.
Yeah.
So that's a trick actually, because when you start around 6:30, there are not many cars actually on the road, and then we tend to avoid also where there are not many cars. So yeah, but I agree with it's a concern. But then again, you have to balance between that concern and the need to stay fit. So it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50, something you have to consider 50-50. Do I stay home and fit, or do I go out there and try and keep fit? So it's something that you have to balance.
You have to balance.
I think,
but then Milton, is it that Nairobians wanakula ujeuri wao? Because anytime you as media, you write articles, expose these people who are grabbing those public places, but then Nairobians are not coming out, to fight for what is theirs. Is it that they are wanakula sasa ujeuri wao now that they have to jog along the roads?
Well, for me, it's a mix of both, really, because like Shitemi has pointed out, some of these public utility spaces have been grabbed, and who grabs them? It is the Nairobians themselves. So yes, to a certain element, to a certain extent, yes, the Nairobians have been part of the plunder. They have been part of the grabbing. I mean, I don't mean everyone in Nairobi, but the few of them that are involved in the grabbing. But then overall, I think at the end of the day, the buck stops with the leadership. Like I have said before, they cannot run away from that, because we have seen grand plans for facilities to be set up, like I talked about, very big stadia, yet all we need are simple running tracks, around the estate. And for example, that doesn't require so much. You need those kinds of facilities, most of which will not cost 5 or more than 5 or more than 10 million shillings. But you see, the leadership is not interested in that, because there is no money for them to eat, literally speaking. So it is, yes, Nairobians are responsible, partly those who are part of the plunder and who refuse to hark to the calls for holding the people accountable, and they don't act whenever those articles are written, whenever those stories are carried in the media. They are asking questions, they are not able to respond as expected, and therefore this is what you have, where the likes of Gilbert and others have to deal with dangerous emissions as they do their jogging along the roadside that are not even constructed with such kind of activity in mind. So it is quite a disaster.
Those hard surfaces, like Shtemi said, it's very, dangerous to run on those surfaces. But Shtemi, you've been covering some of the sports personalities who are training from their own backyards and some from their, living rooms. How much do you think these athletes, these sportsmen and women of this country will have lost by the time we emerge from this coronavirus pandemic?
Toskin, I think you've already seen what is happening with the European countries, the ones that have already resumed their leagues, like maybe in England, in Spain, as well as in Germany. You see how the impact has been, because these players are not more physically fit the way they were. They are very sluggish, yeah? It is taking toll on them. They're trying to adapt slowly by slowly. In that essence, these players, you find that they'll, of course, by the time come up from the quarantine, they'll have added their weight. So losing that weight will be very difficult. Yes, they are doing some partially the physical exercise, trying to keep fit, but they're not getting it at 100%. So as a footballer or as an athlete, it's up to you now personally to look on your diet,
yes,
on what you're trying to take, what you are eating, and just ensure, you don't add much weight. Yes. Of course, there's no way you can avoid it, but at least as an individual, you know how your body
you have to take care of yourself. We've been discussing...
take care of yourself,
Yes.
Because once you are done with this, it will be now on a personal, it will be an individual assessment. There's no way you'll go in a group assessment. It will be you.
It's individual.
Will be assessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Roger Shtemi we have on the line on Zoom conversation with Gilbert Wandera and also Milton Nyakundi. We're talking about the public spaces in Nairobi, because Nairobians have taken to the city streets just to keep themselves fit. They wake up very early in the morning to do those morning runs. And the questions are emerging, how healthy is it because of the vehicle emissions? And the concern is that is just inhaling some of those dangerous emissions, and it doesn't do them any good. Now, before we let them go, we want to talk about the issue of FC Leopards and Gor Mahia. They've received, good sponsorship from one of the betting firms. And Shtemi, I remember you wrote about that story. How significant is this sponsorship that has come to FC Leopards and Gor Mahia? We know how difficult it has been for football clubs to get, sponsorship. But now we have FC Leopards, Gor Mahia getting the nod.
Toscan, I think these are somewhat a reprieve to them. It is a small relief, because you look at the budget of these two teams, they have huge budgets. Look at FC Leopards, it's 100 million per year. Gor Mahia is at 200 million per year because of their participation in the continental competition. But for BetSafe to come on board, I think at this particular moment as well, because we are in a pandemic, I think it's somehow positive news for the two clubs. But now the question is, how are we going to manage this money? Yeah, because the key players, the key stakeholders in all these things is the players, who most of the time are neglected when it comes to their salary payments, allowances payment, bonuses, and etc. But now, as you are aware, Toskin, we have been having problems.
Yeah.
And that is the accountability problems in the Kenyan football, or rather in the Kenyan sports as a whole. Because most of the time, when these sponsorship are announced, it's so difficult to get the real figure. Yeah. I don't know why clubs or even federations are so difficult to give out these figures. Because, once you give out the figures of the sponsorship deal, like now the FC and Gor Mahia deals, we had to dig deep to get these figures. And you can see no official was ready to be quoted about the figures. Why are they running away from being quoted about the figures? Yeah, we need to come out and tell the public this is the amount we have. So
you really did well, Shtemi. Actually, you did well to tell the public that Gor Mahia are going to receive 55 million at the beginning of the coming season. We don't know when it will start, and FC Leopards 40 million. But Wandera, Shtemi is raising those significant issues about accountability. Why would officials not tell the public that this is what we stand to gain and this is how we are going to use it?
Gor Mahia and FC Leopards receiving sponsorship was, it was good news after a long, long time, of Eshitemi reporting how players are suffering and how, teams have not been able to pay their players for months and months. However, having said that, I also think, also Eshitemi is blaming the officials sometimes unfairly, because sometimes the sponsors themselves don't want the figures to be mentioned. And I remember, when I used to cover some of this news, I mean, it was hard to get even, the news from the sponsors themselves. So I don't know why. Sometimes the sponsors just don't want to reveal the figures. I don't know why, either,
Is it an issue to do with the taxation, accountability, and all that?
Yeah, or maybe whatever they're giving is not significant. I don't know. But they also have their reasons. But again, I also agree with the Shitemi that our clubs need to run affairs properly, so that they don't have to be always with begging bowls, crying to be bailed out from time to time. So I think, when with these sponsorships coming up, they need to do them so well that, sponsors will be coming by themselves, not them going to them. Yeah. So I think they can do it. But it's really good news. And I want to focus on that at this time.
We hope we'll take that up, and our time is up. And I want to thank you very much, Gilbert Wandera, and also Rogers Eshitemi and Milton Nyakundi, for coming through to help us understand whose problem is it, who is to blame for all this, failure to have the public spaces for Nairobians to jog during this coronavirus pandemic. And we just hope that the authorities concerned will take this matter seriously, so that Nairobians can have their space. And now I can see my colleagues, Mike Gitonga and also Triggs Ngado, having come through. I hope they've been listening to this conversation. I don't know where they train. I don't know if they're also taking those morning runs.
If at all.
Yeah, if at all. But you guys look fit. I want to believe that you've also been having those morning runs.
Yeah, I personally, I'd say I do my best, but not running for sure. Yeah,
running is also not one of my best sports, but I try, cycling here and then, playing a few games of squash and all that. But COVID, of course, came, and now the only sports that we're able to interact or do is where you have to be outdoor, or where there's not many people around you. But trying to keep fit, it's definitely a tough task, but we keep trying.
We wish you all the best, and we hope that you'll just maintain that fitness for the benefit of yourselves and your families.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, and we had asked a question earlier on that I would just like to reflect and see what you have to say. The question that we had put on for us to interact regarding some of the political scenarios that are playing off is it too early for ongoing political realignments? Is it too early for ongoing political realignments? Edward says that